Well, this is a pleasant surprise. In my original review for Arizona Sunshine's Quest release 4 years ago, I referred to it as an elder statesman of VR, and it was 4 years old then. Now, 8 years on, it's been remade for better hardware, with its own sequel's rather lovely engine. Will it have aged like a fine chateau wine, or is it now a shuffling, stumbling Biden, not fit for another 4 years? I revisit Arizona Sunshine every so often because it's a great game. It can be enjoyed solo or co-op in 10-minute chunks, or as a more satisfying long-form session, and the core conceit of gunning zombies down is still really satisfying. Honestly, there have been so many shooters released in VR, but nearly none of them have nailed the same satisfying and substantial feel offered by Arizona Sunshine. However, it was never a very good-looking or slick affair, and was full of less and less forgivable jank. I was relieved when Arizona Sunshine 2 came along and smoothed out a lot of those rough edges, whilst largely doubling down on everything that made the first game so good to play. A remake of the original using later tech is a rather great idea, and I'm largely happy to report that it does what it promises to. It includes all the DLC for the original release, similarly remastered, and offers tremendous value for money. There's even a nifty discount if you've got the original in your Quest library already. So before I get into the specifics, just know that if you've played and loved the original and are looking for a shiny new version to show off your Quest 3 or 3S, then go for it. I recommend it. You won't be disappointed. But wait, hey, I haven't sod you. In your impatience to go spend your money, you're missing out on some exemplary video game criticism and penmanship. Your loss. The rest of you still with me? Okay, let's get into it. Players both familiar and new to Arizona Sunshine will find a lot to love here. The setting still feels fresh and original, despite the zombie theme having been done to death, resurrected, and headshotted more times than can be counted in the past 30 years. Even Resident Evil, whose fault it all is, has been trying to move away from zombies for at least 15 years. However, zombies do provide a gloriously guilt-free way for us all to virtually live out our fantasies of taking our frustrations and loneliness out on the general public with gardening equipment and automatic weaponry. Arizona Sunshine cast the player as an unnamed, initially slightly dislikable dude who's been surviving alone in the Arizona wilderness in the wake of a zombie apocalypse. He's trying to find any living souls to team up with, and has been alone for quite a while when the player quantum leaps into his head. He sounds a bit like a bassist, a roadie, or a general stoner. In fact, it occurred to me as I played through the remake that my mental image of him is that he's Neil Fack from The Bear, dropped into a zombie survival scenario. This is a good thing. His journey in the course of the game is slight but brilliant and engaging. And as I mentioned in my original review, Sky Soleil's fantastic performance is key to making the whole thing work. A majority of protagonist voiceovers in VR can be grating or off-key, making it a chore to literally inhabit their heads as you progress. But here you're completely engrossed in getting the guy where he wants to go and keeping him alive. If you've only ever experienced him in Arizona Sunshine 2, then it'll be an extra frisson to experience him getting to the point where he's obsessed with keeping his dog alive when the sequel hits the fan. There's no massive story here, so the narrative sells itself through empathy with its only character, and this has stood the test of time well. The game offers pretty cool options for customizing the feel, from movement and turning to switching between the simple reloading of the original or the new VR standard of sliding in a clip and cocking the gun. Thankfully, you can now hold pistols with 2 hands. You can calibrate where you'd like your holsters and ammo to sit on your body. All good, as is the improved Half-Life Alyx-style wrist inventory, an inclusion of tremendously fun bludgeoning melee weapons like crowbars, picks and hammers. These can be balanced on railings or the sides of tables or shelves while you reload or scavenge, and this feels really cool. The level of challenge is pretty good. On the easier difficulties, if you're a reasonable, quick enough shot, you'll be okay. The game has 2 paces: scavenging for ammo and exploring, popping heads as you go, and then the set-piece Horde rushes where you hope that you've stockpiled enough bullets and picked the right weapons to survive. Like the sequel, these Horde rushes can be suffocatingly frustrating and stressful chokeholds on progress, or exhilarating and rewarding tests of endurance, which provide a tremendous rush of relief and accomplishment when you're through. If this is your first rodeo, I'd advise playing through on lower difficulties first so you know roughly what to expect, and then have another playthrough, where you'll have to be a lot more sparing with your ammo and inventive with the offered weapons at your disposal. You won't have to worry about finding crafting ingredients like in the sequel, but supplies get pretty scarce even if you aren't the sort of person who likes to spray and pray. This all changes again when playing through in co-op with a friend, which is such a good feature of both the original game and its shiny new incarnation. Sadly, the same limitations apply, and this is one thing I really hoped would be improved with the new gameplay. There are points where you'd think one player could be running around gung-ho with an automatic amongst the Horde whilst the other takes Overwatch, but this is often not so. When a player triggers the Horde, the co-op partner will be teleported to their side if they're in a place the game doesn't want you to be. Sometimes invisible walls will prevent the player from taking a visible path, the game locking off areas of the map that should be accessible, just because the designers wanted it that way. It's pretty lazy and annoying, and it was weak 8 years ago. It's downright unforgivable for such a classy game to be so graceless in its execution, reiterating its mistakes verbatim after 8 years of iteration. Whilst we're on the subject of things that really should have died and stayed dead from the original game, let's talk about graphics. By and large, they are a remarkable improvement on the original, as one might expect. The bacony wood textures are long gone, thank goodness, but there are still some items of text that are unforgivably pixelated and horrible. The searchable trunks of the police cars, for example, just about say highway patrol on them, but I've seen better image quality on those capture things online when they're trying to ascertain I'm human. Good luck with that. Most egregious of all is the sniper scope section, where distant zombies are rendered with such horrible quality that the graphics don't match the original release. In fact, in this one instance, they don't even look as good as the original PlayStation would have. Vertigo Games have done so much to fly the flag for VR as a gaming medium, and all eyes are on this remake to show us all how it's done. We let something slide about the original because of the ambition and overall quality of the experience. Don't let Ed Wood get hold of your director's cut version because we're going to mark it down accordingly now. The same goes for how fiddly things can be. Scavenging is better and drawers and doors have a far more physical interactivity to them, but sometimes picking stuff up can be unnecessarily finicky and even bugs out. If you're carrying things when the game loads a new area, these can sometimes disappear. This is all stuff that absolutely should have been sorted out. Some of it's patchable, some of it ain't. Let's see what the next couple of months may bring. But this is a remake of an 8-year-old game, and it should have been slicker. It only takes 7 years to train as a doctor or an architect, so I think it's reasonable to expect Fred to have got his shit together a bit better than this, dead or no. Arizona Sunshine Remake does exactly what it promises to do, and provides great value, great fun, and great challenge in one juicily headshotable package. It drips with atmosphere, from the setting and impressive voice acting to the perfectly judged musical score. It still provides the most satisfying gunplay on the quest, and sidesteps the time commitment problem of, say, Walking Dead Saints and Sinners by being playable in bite-sized chunks, and in co-op too. You get the excellent DLC stories as part of the deal, and there's also the endlessly replayable Horde mode to play with up to 4 friends. It supersedes the original game entirely, and provides fans of the original and the sequel plenty of reasons to dive back in, whilst being a very enticing and recommended prospect for new players. However, be warned that this is a remaster rather than a true remake, and the failings of the original game are often brought along wholesale for the ride. Overall, 8. Fred shot.